stories are coming out in the NFL offseason. Free agency has been eventful. It has been super eventful in the National Football League. None more so ever than the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of teams are making a lot of big signings, but Philadelphia keeps making key departures. And only in Philly, only Eagle fans will be totally upset with Howie Roseman after just a month ago. Mind you, literally a month ago, we were hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. And now all of a sudden, Howie Roseman, what the hell is he doing? This guy doesn't know what he's thinking. I can't believe this guy's doing this. He's letting him walk. He's letting Sweat walk. Everybody's leaving. Sell the Eagles, all this crap. Guys, a month ago, we were acknowledging he was the best general manager in all of football. I've certainly acknowledged he's the best general manager in all of football. The past 3 years, he has hit on his draft picks. All of them have made contributions to this team in some way, and we're about to find out if some of these guys will make contributions, like Keely Ringo, like a Sidney Brown, maybe even a Tyler Steen, to see if he will make an impact on this roster. And again, we were just in the Super Bowl and we kicked the Chiefs' teeth in. Let's pump the brakes on saying this guy has no idea what he's losing in. Now listen, do I agree with the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade on paper? I don't. I think you got worse as a defense with him being a part of the Houston Texans. However, the move seems to be more about money. It seems to be more about trying to pay some of the younger players long term. And maybe, just maybe, because he was a problem in the locker room and the coaching staff. Because if there's one thing about CJGJ, he will talk his shit. And he's going to yap. And he's going to keep chirping. Doesn't matter who you are. Part of the reason is what makes him a great player is that he does keep on yapping. But really, these moves look like it's just a way to clear out money so that you can go ahead and pay some of the younger players on defense and some of the draft picks that you hopefully will hit on in the future. But other stories have come around about Dallas Goedert, who has been in the free agent rumor mill this offseason about a potential trade, and maybe the Eagles move off of him because we're paying him, what, $12 million on the cap? And also some stories about AJ Brown once again being in the trade talks with the New England Patriots, potentially trading him for the number 4 pick in Christian Gonzalez, and whether or not that's a move Philadelphia wants to go ahead and entertain. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do that, we must introduce the show. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi. And like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave us a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing. So help a brother out, grow the channel. We appreciate your support. Now, again, AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert have been in the rumor mill about the Philadelphia Eagles potentially moving off of their contract, because respectfully, they make what? Dallas makes $12 million against the cap hit, and then AJ Brown, although he just re-signed with the team last offseason, his cap hit right now is $17.5 to $18 million this year. And again, people are entertaining the idea because, you know, Dallas Goedert is a little bit older. He's not always available. And when he is available, yeah, he's an excellent player, but you're only going to get him for what? Half of the season? 60% of the season, right? And is that something you want to pay $12 million to? When you can go ahead and look into the draft for a younger tight end, potentially try to groom them into being a potential star pass catcher and blocker that Dallas Goedert already is. And then with AJ Brown, you have Mike Vrabel at the Patriots. You got, you know, all the connections that he was a Patriot fan when he was younger, and all that jazz. All those people are making the connections to them, having the money to pay him, having the number one wide receiver position of need over there. Drake May, like I said, Mike Vrabel coached him, who he loves in Tennessee, and AJ Brown loves Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, and the feelings are mutual, right? All that stuff makes sense, and that's why a lot of the rumors about AJ Brown going to New England are, are kind of alive. Now, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, do I want to go ahead and trade a player like AJ Brown to the Patriots for the number 4 overall pick and then some? Listen, I'll do this. I'll play devil's advocate in just a second here. You get the number 4 overall pick. You get Christian Gonzalez, who is a premier corner in the National Football League. And for those of you who don't know, because he's on the Patriots, watch his tape. Guy's a freak in nature. That was the last first-round pick Bill Belichick went over there and picked. Okay, so he's a quality defender, smart player, super athletic, can play man, play zone. Like, the guy can do it all. Okay, he's a star cornerback. But there's no guarantee about this number 4 overall pick, especially in a draft where everybody who knows the draft or who talks about the draft or who covers the draft says that this is not necessarily the most star-studded, most talented roster of guys for this upcoming draft. So do I want to sit there and take a chance on a number 4 pick, Christian Gonzalez, and maybe future draft capital for getting rid of the one guy who I know when he is on the field in AJ Brown, when him and Jalen Hurts play a full 60 minutes of football together, at least this past season, they didn't lose a game. Go check it. When AJ Brown was out, when Jalen Hurts got hurt against Washington, those were the games we lost. But when those two guys are on the field for 60 minutes together, we did not lose a football game. Undefeated. That is a really tough sell for a fan base to sit there and say, hey, we're going to trade this player who has a concrete level of evidence showing that he is directly correlated with winning football games, winning the Super Bowl even. We're going to trade him for a cornerback, a number 4 pick who we would hope amounts to the amount of winning that AJ Brown already brings, and then future draft capital. That's a tough sell. And listen, I know Howie and Jeffrey Lurie take swings. They took a swing on AJ Brown. They took a swing on all these players that we have on this team, the way that they construct this roster. They go for big swings. It is a really tough sell to go ahead and try to ship AJ Brown off for Christian Gonzalez, a number 4 pick, and other first-round picks potentially. That is tough. Because if there's one thing this Eagles organization really cares about, it's perception. That has been consistent throughout the entirety of the Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie era. They care about their perception. They need to look like the smartest people in the room. And a lot of the times, they are one of the smarter people in the room. They are. But trading AJ Brown for draft picks is getting too cute. You're starting to overvalue draft picks who you are hoping could amount to the type of player that AJ Brown is on the offensive side of the ball. Which now brings it to a guy like Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is a little bit more of an interesting conversation because there's more nuance to this. There's an injury history here with Dallas Goedert. And not necessarily a correlation to him being on the field versus us winning football games like AJ Brown. But I don't know about you guys, but to my eye, when I watch this team play, this offense seems to flow a little bit better when you implement a little bit more Dallas Goedert into the fray. Right? Like, a lot of the times our drives start or big plays happen when Dallas Goedert gets the ball on those drives. It's like with Saquon Barkley. When Saquon Barkley touches the ball, you start to see good things happen. Same thing with Dallas Goedert. It starts to just open things up for Jalen Hurts. It gets him in a rhythm. It opens up things for AJ and Smitty on the outside. The linebackers have to creep up, and it becomes an easier throw for Jalen Hurts to hit AJ and Devontae over the top when he's on the field. And that's the key point here. When he's on the field, he's one of the better tight ends in all of football. Absolutely. He's better than Hawkinson. I think he's better than Kyle Pitts. The only guys that can maybe beat him out right now are George Kittle and Travis Kelce. And even then, he's in that conversation when on the field. But because he's such a physical player, and because he is such an intense blocker, and he really runs for contact, and he tries to get every ounce of yardage out of every single play he's on the field, he gets dinged up. He gets hurt. He gets injured. And that's a really, really tough thing, a tough pill to swallow for a team that's paying a tight end $12 million for the year, especially as a cap hit. You got to be on the field. Everyone talks about it all the time, the cliche in the NFL. The best ability is availability. And unfortunately for Dallas Goedert, because he's such a physical player, his excellence is only utilized 60% of the time. That's not a good thing. And because he's a little bit older, he's closing in on age 30. $12 million is a tough pill to swallow, especially when you have to consider this coming off season. You got to pay guys like Jordan Davis. You got to pay Jalen Carter $40 million down the road. You got to pay Nolan Smith. You got to pay Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship. And then in future contracts, you got Quinyon, Cooper. Well, there are a lot of players on this team you're going to have to pay big bucks to, because we know the offense is pretty much settled. Not many moves have to be made in terms of contract extensions over there. But getting rid of AJ Brown would be a tough sell. And honestly, Dallas Goedert, at least for one more year, in my opinion, I think you got one more year of Dallas Goedert before Philadelphia starts to look in a different direction at tight end. Now, maybe it could just start happening in this draft by drafting a potential tight end replacement, like they did when he was trying to replace Zach Ertz, right? But I don't think you can go into the 2025 season with all the changes that you have on defense without both A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert on the offensive side of the ball. I think they're necessities, at least for this upcoming season. Whatever you do in the draft is a whole different ballgame. If you draft a potential replacement for Dallas Goedert, then maybe you start thinking about shipping him off in the offseason next year, right? Because, again, $12 million is a lot of money to pay for a player who's not on the field. But when he is on the field, I think our quarterback play gets better. I think the offense flows better. I think our run blocking game becomes that much better because he is an elite blocking tight end. It's tough to find players like Dallas Goedert who are elite as pass catchers and as pass blockers and as run blockers. He could do it all at tight end. And A.J. Brown, I call him the transformer. That guy's a freak in nature. When he's on the field, there's a direct correlation with us winning football games. There's a direct correlation with him and Jalen Hurts just lighting it up. So, again, are there still more moves to be made for the Philadelphia Eagles? I believe so. I don't think Howie Roseman is done. I think this organization looks at the offseason not in terms of, free agent acquisitions and draft. They look at it as a holistic process. They look at the whole entire offseason to make additions, moves, etc. That's how this organization does business. They're really smart with the cap. They're really smart with their money, and they don't just spend it willy-nilly. I don't think they're going to do willy-nilly trades here by trading star players like A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert unless there is an offer they absolutely cannot refuse. And I don't think the Patriots have enough to offer for A.J. Brown, and I'm not sure of an offer that's out there for teams to go ahead and get a player like Dallas Goedert unless you're maybe the Indianapolis Colts, who could potentially use a tight end. But even then, I don't know if I would entertain that phone call if I am the Philadelphia Eagles. At least for not another offseason. 2026, that's a whole different ballgame. But for right now, A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, in my opinion, should be safe. I think they are safe. And maybe you draft a replacement in the draft. But one thing's for sure. The New England media, the Boston News, whoever is talking about pushing A.J. Brown to the Patriots, pump the brakes. And for Dallas Goedert, I think we have one more year of Dallas Goedert. before we decide to ship him off and let him test the free agent market and see what other teams offer him. One thing's for sure, though. Howie Roseman's got a lot of work to do. A lot of moving parts in this offseason. But Eagle fans, do not panic. You have to trust what Howie Roseman has done because their track record for the Eagles organization, Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, it speaks for itself. You got to let them do the work. Let us see how this is going to play out before we cast judgment. Because, again, I said this at the top of the show. Just 1 month ago, we were hoisting a Lombardi trophy. But now all of a sudden the guy doesn't know what he's doing on defense. Only Eagle fans would have that sort of reactionary take about Howie Roseman. Look, you could question moves, you could question transactions, but one thing's for sure, you got to see how it plays out because in the end, a lot of us were eating crow about this football team after the last offseason. Let's see. Let's give this organization, let's give Howie, let's give this team the benefit of the doubt here and let them do their work. Because who knows? By the time the new season starts, we're going to look at the transactions. We're going to look at the teams. We're going to say, hey, you know what? I like what we see. I like the young guys being able to play. And maybe, just maybe, this defense gets a little bit more life in its, in its half-life, so to speak, right? You get a little bit more years out of it by implementing more youth. So again, are there still more moves to be made? 100%. But don't panic. Let them do their job. Let them do their work and react to this a few more weeks into the offseason before we think they're incompetent. Hey. Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.